So last week of Made to Order March, we're opening up all the previous Made to Order products, including this week's Claude, Slim, and Lasso Link neck strap, where you can alternate two different colors. You can do alternating links, one side one color, one the other. This whole thing ends on the 27th, so get your order in. It's the only time we do it all year. My next question is a little bit about your time as a ranger. What was the scariest thing or the most intimidating thing that you experienced that you're willing to share about being a ranger? Was there any cool stories you have about it?
So yeah, you get sort of two types of rangers, or they've actually now got two words for it. So one's called a field guard, one's called a ranger. So rangers more the guys. So rangers are the guys we sponsor and give boots to, because they're on their feet all day doing anti-poaching, fire breaks, all the nitty gritty. They're kind of behind the scenes. And then field guard are more the guys that are educating. So I was more on the field guard side for most of my career.
Okay.
I did do a bit of ranging at my first job. But knowing I wasn't going to be in the industry for that long, I went more to the field guard side. So that's dealing with guests and interacting and educating them on the bush. So I ended up at a camp called Mala Mala, which is quite a well-known photographic safari camp. And there, the game viewing there is just unbelievable. And I'd say I wouldn't say it was scary, but one of the encounters I would always remember is we're quite far out into the reserve, where kind of the reserve meets the Kruger National Park. So lots of wild animals that aren't that used to humans and vehicles and stuff would sometimes come into the area. And there was a massive bull elephant, and he came walking down the road, and he decided to stop. I don't know, maybe a foot from my face.
Oh my gosh!
So his task.
I thought you were gonna say a mile or something.
No, his task was pretty much here, and then he just stood like that, maybe for a good 5 minutes. He just stood there. Oh my gosh! So then I could, when you can feel the energy and my guests in the back, I could just know that they weren't that comfortable. So.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. So I leaned back, and then I clapped, and then he pulled his head back, quite a bit back, and then he sort of backed off a little bit, and then put the vehicle into gear, and then we shot sort of through the bush and then round the corner. But the big bull elephants, they can be quite cheeky because they're kind of solitary and they just roam around.
Okay.
And he coming in from the Kruger, he wasn't showing aggressive signs, but that's what they can do. They can just come and stand by the vehicle, and they just know they're big.
So what was going through your mind when you're a foot away from a 2,000-pound animal or whatever much it weighs?
I was hoping he would eventually just carry on moving, but eventually...
Were you scared? Were you like, oh, I might die here? Or were you like, oh, this was a cute little elephant? You know, what was yeah.
I think in that moment, you got to make a decision. I knew he wasn't showing signs of aggression, but all it takes is for him to do some little move, and the tusk can go through the seat or my head.
Yeah. So are elephants as they are romanticized here in the U.S.? Everyone I hear talk about elephants, you can see into their soul through their eyes. You can tell they're this. And being someone that's hunted and been around animals, being from a farm and stuff, I believe that to some degree. But I've never been around elephants. Is there actually a different feel around them where it seems like they're a little more conscious than a cow or something, or how's that?
How's that definitely. Feel? Elephants are extremely intelligent animals. I love watching elephants. People come to South Africa or Africa to see lions in the big five, but 9 times out of 10 the big cats are just sleeping under a tree because it's so hot and they rest all day. Whereas the elephants, they're always up to something, either swimming or playing around. They also can be quite naughty, and lots of the camps they pull up where the fresh water supply. They can hear the water flowing underground, so they'll actually dig the pipes up to get to the fresh water. Oh, the
pipes.
They don't want to drink dirty dam water. They want to drink
Dang.
Yeah, and the matriarchs, so they know, they always lead the herd, the breeding herds. Very intelligent animals to watch. So
it's a matriarchal system, so that you have these big bulls that just kind of run around by themselves, or are they part of the herd?
No, so the herds will be there'll be one matriarch female, and majority of the time, most of that herd will be offspring from her, and then what will happen is that the bull elephants kind of just roam, and then what it's called, they go into musk, where they get like, they start out the glands, out the just
From
behind the ears.
mating season?
It's time to mate, and then what they do is they can pick up the scent from these herds with the females, and then they'll trail the herds with the females for a number of days, hoping to mate.
Okay.
And yeah, so
Similar to elk then, because elk do a similar thing.
Do they?
They'll have they'll be what they call the rut,
Yeah.
where they're in heat for a few weeks or a month, and they just are all over these cows trying to win them over, and then when they're not in the rut, they kind of drift off into their own. Sometimes they'll get a couple of young satellite bulls that follow them around, but they seem like they're a more matriarchal style of herd, like elk are then.
Yeah.
Because not that elk are, elk still are a very bull-driven thing, but it seems like they have the rut in a similar way. That's cool. Way smarter than elk too, seemingly. Okay, and then we don't have to get into this question too deep or even post it. But this is just out of my general curiosity when it comes to safaris and stuff, because I've being raised hunting all my life. We spend months hunting a year, and a lot of my dad's friends that ended up making a little bit of money in their lives. One of my dad's buddies, Bruce, was a lineman, finally started making some money, and he loves going down and doing hunting safaris in South Africa. And all the guys that I know that are big into hunting that go down there, they're no, everyone says we're doing good, we're helping the community, the food goes here, this. But then on the flip side, you hear people that are against the safari style hunting where they're no, they're murdering animals, they're supporting bad things. And so I don't have enough information to actually have an opinion on it. So somebody who's been a ranger that lives in South Africa and has been on your own versions of that type of safari and seen the wilderness for what it really is in the community, what is your opinion on Americans coming over for a hunting safari?
So yeah, hunting plays a big part in Southern Africa and Africa in general. So I think the best way to answer this question, and I've been asked it so many times as well.
Oh, really?
Is you've got to think of Africa as the human body. And so when your body gets sick, so if you break your arm, you go to the doctor and you get a plaster Paris put on and your arm gets fixed. If you have bronchitis, you go and your doctor gives you the right medication and you get fixed. So you've got to treat land the same way in Africa. So if a piece of land can maintain photographic safaris and not have hunters and there's traffic coming through there, then that's how you've got to treat that piece of land. Whereas there might be some piece of land that's no one wants to go to. There's no camp set up, there's no lodges, there's none of that stuff. And that's where the hunters play a really important role. Because if the hunters aren't going there, then it's just naturally going to be poached. And basically all the animals will no longer be there. And a good example is you get an antelope called the Lord Derby eland, which you can find out in Cameroon. And I mean, no one's going to go pay all that money to fly to Cameroon to go and look at the Lord Derby eland. But hunters will pay the money to go there. And with the outfitters, that's their job. Their job is hunting Lord Derby eland. So they're naturally going to protect those areas.
Because it becomes a resource then.
It becomes a resource.
Okay.
The moment you take hunting out of those areas, then the outfitters are going to move out, and there's no longer going to be.
Wow.
They're not going to be financing the anti-poaching units and things like that. So.
Yeah.
Yes, there are hunters or outfitters that aren't that ethical, but there are lots of them that do a great job and do protect the area. So I think the question comes in where there's hunting and photographic safaris operating alongside each other. That's kind of where all these the stories and someone hunted this lion or something like that. So but yeah, I think if you just treat land like the human body, every piece of land has a different management plan, and that's what you need to implement to make sure that the land is fruitful.
That's the answer I wanted to hear.
That's interesting, because I'm like you. I walk into someone's house and they have a lion and a zebra and this and that, and I don't know how to feel about it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I just don't have information.
All right, we're bringing the whole arsenal of guns down when we come visit South Africa.
Bring back a
Yeah, for real though. Okay, what about like when you were a ranger and you're doing like the photography tours and stuff? Which people are the worst? Which country of like tourists come and you're like, oh, we got another American here. They don't know how to act, or like another whatever.
You can say American because
It's
I
actually
believe
it's
you.
actually not. It's actually South Africans who are the worst.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they think they know everything.
Mm,
Because you're from the area, so you naturally know everything.
yeah.
And they were just wasn't that pleasant. My first camp I worked, I used to get lots of South African guests, and then when I moved on to Mala Mala, it was mostly the American guests.
Okay. Would you ever consider doing ranger work ever again?
I wouldn't do ranger work. I would prefer to get more into like the conservation side. Yeah, ranger work's more, young 20s when you got lots of energy and.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's such a cool experience though, because I think it's a similar thing here in the U.S. where like when you're early 20s, you do like the coolest but hardest jobs, like whether it's like construction, firefighting, building the big windmills that are big here, oil rigs. Like you can make a ton of money, but it's dangerous and it's hard work, and it's a young man's game.
Yeah, the problem with field guiding or game ranging is that you don't actually earn that much money, so most of your income is on tips.
Okay.
Which was also another reason why the South African guests weren't our favorite, because tipping in South Africa is like 50-50.
Okay.
Like sometimes you don't tip, or some people always tip, but lots of people won't tip. Whereas obviously here and in America, it's like a natural thing, not just to tip, but it's a very generous country, so the tips are really great.
Cool.
Basically, when
100%.
you're working as a field guide, like 80%, 90% of your income was actually tips.
Wow. It's good to know if I go to South Africa.
Hey everybody, this is Brody and my good friend Manny the Mannequin from Rose Anvil. Today we're going to be talking about Rose Anvil kilties. They come in 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, both no-show as well as fringe. Every boot has a tongue, most boot have eyelets. These eyelets can wear on the tongue. Once you tighten those down, all that wear, rubbing around, can really ruin your tongue. Wear holes through it, then your upper's kind of screwed. Throw a kiltie in there, all that wear goes onto the kiltie and not the tongue. It also adds a little girth. That extra leather, once you cinch everything down, just kind of fills out the boot, fills out your foot a little bit better. Super nice. We have so many leather options. We've been getting a bunch of new leathers from really popular boot brands. We've got like Copper Rough and Tough, Red Wing, Oro Legacy, tons and tons of leather options. So if you have a pair of boots and you want a pair of kilties to match your boots, check our website. We've got a bunch. We're dropping these weekly. So now that we know what a kiltie does, what a kiltie is for, how to use it, put it in your boot, lace it up, protects your boot, adds a little girth, I'm going to show you my favorite alternative styling techniques. I promise if you do this with your kilties, you'll be the only person wearing them like this. I'll show you here in just one second. This is it. This is my alternative styling method. Buy them.
So when you go on safari, what's like the one animal you're like, oh, I hope we see this and I could spend all day watching this animal?
So this is one in like a million. It would be like lions hunting buffalo. That's always like battle of the beasts.
Oh,
Because
cool.
You've got like the strongest cat and one of the strongest animals. And
Yeah.
when they go up against each other, it's crazy. I've only ever seen that once in my life.
Really?
But leopards are always great to see if you can find them.
They're more elusive than lions?
Extremely elusive. Yeah.
Okay. Just because they roll by themselves, right? They don't have like a
Solitary,
pack or
Slightly
herd.
smaller, and they just don't like being seen, so they're quite elusive. But yeah, standard go-to would be elephants. They're always entertaining. Whether it's as hot as can be, or as cold, they're always up to something.
What about American animals? Is there any animals you're like, one day I would love to see, a big bull elk
Moose.
or a moose, really?
Yeah.
They are kind of goofy animals if you think about it,
I'd love to see a big moose. Or I'd like to do like the whole experience, like go out into the wilderness and
Yeah.
spend some time out there.
Dude, let's trade. You show me around South Africa, I'll show you around the Midwest or the West here. That would be cool.
How often do you come to the U.S.?
I kind of at the moment, because we've only been selling in the US 2.5, 3 years now, so it's kind of just all spur at the moment type of stuff. We were doing the trade shows, which was a reason to come out, which we stopped doing the to get into wholesale. Now we're doing more direct to consumer selling, face to face at the booth. Then our government does sponsor the odd trade show here and there, which I jump on for the flights. They cover our flights and accommodation.
Oh, that's cool.
And then what I do is I use those trade shows, and then I kind of network around
Yeah.
on top of that. So, but that gets quite tiring because then you're sitting all day at the trade show, and then in the evenings you're hopping around. So, but I think we kind of got a good understanding now of what works for us and what to do and where to go. So,
Dude, the funny thing too is like, you spent like 3 or 4 days at this trade show, and putting boots on people. It's obviously it's a little bit higher conversion rate if somebody actually has the boots and they can buy it there and they tried them on. But you'll probably reach more people from sitting down with us for a few hours doing this than you will of standing at a trade show for a week.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
100%. But I think the reason we go to those trade shows is the time, the effort, the amount of money we put in the hotels, and having the whole team there. There's no ways we I think we'll be lucky if we even broke even.
Really?
But it was just to be there, to hear what people say.
Right.
I mean, the best thing about that whole trade show for me was that not one person walked past and was like, "I hate your boots," or like, "I've had your boots," and there was no negativity from it. So
No spitting.
no. No. So that was really good. And on top of that, there was depending on what trade show you go to, there's people there that don't online shop or don't watch YouTube. So yes, maybe we only gained 100 new customers, but those are now 100 more people that will, hopefully go and tell their friends and family. And
Oh, okay. That's smart.
What's your favorite place you've been to in the U.S. and then your favorite trade show? You have one.
I don't have a favorite. So.
Okay.
All trade
No
shows
jokes.
suck.
I enjoyed the Dallas show. It would be more enjoyable if you weren't, because you have a business mind on when you get
Right.
like, I've got to sell shoes, and you feel a bit guilty when you sneak away to go and look around a little bit because you're like, because often I'll sneak away and I'll get back and I'll be like, oh, this person are looking for you. So
Yeah.
that's I'd like to be able to set up where you can have a trade show and then have the freedom to go network and walk around and chat to other exhibitors. And my favorite place I've been to, I definitely enjoy the Utah. I think I'm definitely not, because I'm an outdoorsy person, and I haven't been that outdoorsy here yet, but you can definitely see, the mountains are right here.
Yeah.
There's fishing, there's trail running, there's all kinds of things you can do on your doorstep.
Did you make it down to Zion last time?
I didn't, unfortunately.
The next time you come out, we ought to just plan a couple days and we'll just do like a trip.
Yeah.
Get some of the crew together and go down to Zion.
There's a lot.
We've tried to do that. Like I've said to my wife, I was like, because every time we come here, it's like, oh, let's do work for 5 days and take 2 days off. But those 2 days, you're so busy, like catching up on the work you've just done.
Yeah.
It's not really
Relaxing
2 days
too and like recovering from.
off.
Yeah, we ought to do a trip down there. It's like stepping onto Mars when you get down to Zion, especially if you've never been there.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I enjoyed Dallas for a major city. In terms of major cities, it's quite easygoing and quite a relaxed place. And we managed to get out. A friend of a friend was actually storing our boots and like card machine and everything like that.
Really?
And he had a barn, so we went
fun.
out to his ranch and we hang out there for a bit. Which was
Cool.
nice. Yeah.
What are some dumb questions that people, because like, there's like these interview questions that are telling the story and the brand, but like what are some like, just like personal, not like personal, but like person questions, like people questions, like for instance, what's your favorite candy bar? Do they have candy in South Africa? I'm assuming they do. They have the same
We got it's fairly similar. Like when we go into the shops, I always look to see if there's something a little bit different. But I think the world's all just become like one kind of shop. Yeah, so.
Do you have a go-to candy bar that when you're like, it's time to indulge?
I enjoy M&Ms.
M&M's? That's the most grandpa candy of all time.
Yeah.
It's like chocolate covered in stuff that doesn't even taste like chocolate. I think mine's Reese's though, so I don't have room to talk. It's like peanut butter is not, like I'm surprised peanut butter is as popular as it is, because sometimes I'll be home late at night, need a little snack from the cupboard, I'll take a whole spoonful of peanut butter. I'm like, this doesn't actually taste good. I don't know why I'm eating this.
Yeah. One thing I do every time I come to the US, I get a different bottle of whiskey.
Okay.
That's one thing we don't get a great selection.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
what did you take? What did you get this trip?
I got the High West.
Okay.
It's they distill out by Park City.
Yeah.
So we went out there and had 1 or 2 drinks and grabbed two bottles.
Cool. So now, okay, here's another question for you. Now that you're an adult, you're married, Jim Green seems like it's doing pretty well. On the occasion when you actually do have a few hours to yourself on the weekend or whatever, what are your go-to things? What are your hobbies you like to do?
At the moment, we've been quite busy, but like now for Christmas, we were in the bush, so we go on safari.
What does that look like? What's a day in the bush look like?
So this last trip, we were at a reserve, not that well known actually, called Tembe Elephants National Park. Really well known for like its big tusker elephants.
Okay.
Actually, it's in South Africa, and it actually opens up into Mozambique,
Which is to the northeast.
East, yeah.
Okay.
So it's actually like an ancient sand forest.
Oh wow.
So instead of the traditional like driving on rocks and open savannas, actually like driving on the beach. So all the roads are sandy beach, and then the forest has sprung up among through the sand.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's gotta be crazy looking.
Crazy. Yeah. So it was the start of our summer, so the bush was quite thick, but I'm more there just to be out there in the bush. And
So what does that look like? Do you like stay in like a hotel, tents? Like what is like from when you wake up in the morning to the end of the day when you're going to bed? What do you do like on a day in the bush?
so
Like walk
this
around look for
particular
animals?
one, I mean, you can go to the high end ones where it's like $1,000 a night per person, but then it's like wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock, you're on the game drive vehicle, you run around chasing sightings, which is really great for people who are new to safari. But for someone like myself and our family who's quite used to it, we prefer to just do it on our own.
Okay.
So where we stayed now was like a tented camp. So they have a tent there for you. So it's a tent with a bed, and then they also prepare your meals for you. And then we just did the self-drive option where we, you can do what you want. Pack your cooler box, hop in the car, go drive around. You don't have to. There's no other people in your vehicle that you have to entertain. So
You make it sound like it's super safe, but like I've seen the video of like like lions that were right next to your tent, and like you told us a story about being hunted by hyenas on your honeymoon.
it can, I think if you don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
then things can go wrong, very wrong.
Yeah.
A little different than
Yeah. We've got a cougar and a black bear on occasion, but that's about it. That's pretty much all my questions. You guys have any other questions you have? Is there any other things you wanted to cover, any topics you want to hit on, or anything you want to talk about that we didn't?
I think we've covered most of it.
Yeah, we've been going for a
I
bit.
think the Q&A, all the questions that were asked, we've almost kind of not only covered, but we've got arriving or
Yeah.
in talks. So that's good to hear.
Okay. Well, thanks again for coming. Our outro number 4. We'll put links to all the various Jim Green videos we've done, cutting their boots in half, doing the like podcast style interview we did last time, the previous videos we did with you that are talking about the African Ranger Barefoot, maybe an upcoming project, and just a little bit of like a chat back and forth about just general stuff. We'll put all the links to that in the description. And thanks again for being willing to sit down for 4 hours straight and let us ask you questions, and for coming a little bit further here in the U.S. to Utah to spend some time so we could do some of this content. So I appreciate it, and thanks for coming on the channel.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always good to be here, and looking forward to the next visit.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, we do some fun stuff, so I appreciate it, dude. It's like there's relationships in business that are business, and then there's relationships in business that are like homies that were like, oh yeah, we got to do business too.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this. So
I think this boot was just like, okay, let's put it together. Might work, might not.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden we're like, oh, 3,000 pairs sold. Okay. Cool. And thank you guys for your help. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, all the other stuff, and see ya.